program for full-time city employees. Mayor, anything you want to add to that? That's the first reading.
No, it's got to be passed though, because it's, our program is in place and we have to have it ready for the employees.
So it's effective February 1st, so it would have to be, unless we do a special meeting. we have to-
Well, I think that Ms. Hankin had a question about it.
Yeah, this particular one, I was wondering, what are we doing in terms of giving people time off? Was that what I was reading in the wellness program? They had so much?
There is a provision in it that if you accumulate certain number of points, there's no monetary value to it, that if you get up to a certain point, you're earning these points to keep your premium at a certain
I understand what we're doing.
And so you, given a half a day off if you get to a certain number of points. But the points are in thousands, they're not like 10 points.
So it's like a reward for doing your.
Yes, and if
fitness.
you, and the number of points is like up to 10,000 points, and,
Do you get some points taken
There's
away
different
from you?
levels of the points, I
well,
remember that.
your penalty is that you wind up paying more for your end of the premium, from
And
5% to 10%.
Saying the reward, I would think, would be you get a break on your premiums, right? But this is adding more reward to it, is what you're saying.
No, you have to get to this, yes. It used to be, Ms. Hannigan,
Yeah,
the previous program was if you got to a certain point level, you received $25.
right.
Then you got to another level, you got $50, and then up to $200. So to save the money, the city summed.
So we're giving them like a comp time thing or
Exactly.
something?
In lieu of cash.
I see. And then the other reward is their premium is less.
Their premium stays at 5% and not 10%.
Yeah, right, not 10, where there'd be a penalty for those who didn't.
Yeah,
meet it.
yes, yes.
Right, I got it.
All right.
Okay.
Kevin, third read.
Third read on
Moving
that?
on to 7, ordinance of the city of Macedonia relative to employee health care.
Same thing with this, it has to be passed for the healthcare.
Yes, it affects the codified ordinance, so we're changing the word vitality out of codified ordinance to reflect the new program.
Which is not vitality, but.
Yes, wellness.
So it's a language.
Okay,
It's
so
a
that's why
Vitality
language
was the
change.
previous.
we just read it, we just put it at first because we wanted to make sure we're gonna pass the first, okay.
7, Kevin, third read.
All right.
Moving on to 9,
Jeez.
billing for the services of municipal water system utility in the city of Macedonia distributed to City of Cleveland Water. Mayor?
As I remember, this is just a,
Mayor, okay. So Mayor, this is where you want to take some money out of the water M&E.
oh, that's right.
Look at 150.
When I don't see that right in front of me, that gets me, but yeah.
1 week to next.
We wanted to just redistribute some of the water M&E monies as we discussed at our last meeting. It's accumulated, I believe, about 140,
It's at 400,000 right now.
400,000 now. So we aren't going to need that kind of money in the water M&E because of our agreement with the city of Cleveland.
Is there anything specific? Is this gonna go back into the general fund if we take
Well,
a half of it?
Our thought would be is that would go towards our leaf
Okay.
and branch.
Oh, that's right.
Right, it was because that impacts stormwater.
Right.
But I think the language is specific.
So it has to go to something.
Yeah, it has
to
to
do
be
with-
modified if we
with water.
change it, yeah.
With water.
Because the original purpose was to make sure we could maintain our water systems.
And it does say in section 2 where the money would go to.
Kevin, you have that one?
I do, we can do a third read on it?
Anyone want to pose with a third read?
No.
All right.
Yes.
Moving on to 10, ordinance authorizing the imposition of the charge of $3 a month for the leaf removal program. Mr. Engel, you have that one. I would prefer we keep that conversation on the floor. Do we want to go third read, first read? How do we want to handle this?
I would rather have you hold this, give a first reading on it,
Okay.
but then hold this.
It had a first read, so
Or second read.
I just didn't
and,
mark it
Yeah.
out properly.
Okay.
Everything should hinge on what happens
Okay.
in May. That's my feeling on this one. If we get the May.
So should we just keep it at first reading at the end?
Or should we just table
Well,
it?
we just table it till after May.
Kevin, I'm sorry, Dave, will you make a motion to table that, please?
Table indefinitely or just table?
Yeah, indefinitely. We'll sunset it until we can
Okay.
figure out what's going on. 11 obviously is what we've been talking about. That's going to be a third read for Mrs. Tully.
Now, the amendments, the amending are already in this legislation?
Everything that,
Right.
yes,
So we-
everything that was discussed.
We got a new piece of legislation with the changes.
Moving to 12.
May I say something?
Sure.
On the ordinance number 11, I understand that we need to try to do something and to try to reach out. I'm going to propose an amendment for 1/4%. I do not like the idea of trying to the tax credit, we end up trying to find the minimum amount of Macedonia residents who are going to pay the tax. And I just don't find that appealing to me. So I'd like to make an amendment to lower to 1/4%, and then we can do away with the credit that we talked about.
Actually, a
Would
tax
you
credit
remove the
is separate
100% credit then?
numbers.
Is that your recommendation?
No.
No, it doesn't.
No, that it would be only 2, not 2 1/4, but the tax credit, if I understood this correctly, meant no Macedonia resident pays the increase.
Well, no, Macedonia residents who work in the city pay the increase.
No.
No.
No, they didn't.
Anybody, like a tax credit today, if you go somewhere else and pay 2.5, you're not paying
Right.
anything to the city.
But if
But if you're
but
paying
if we're
2, you're
keeping
not
it,
paying,
yeah, right, we don't
but
need a
if you're
credit.
paying 2 in another community, you don't pay the 1/4, the tax refund gives the money back.
But if you pay it in this community, you pay it 2.5.
No,
No,
you
if
get
you're a
point.
resident, and you work in Macedonia, like myself, I live
Right.
and work in Macedonia.
Right.
If I pay 2 1/4, I can apply for a 0.25 refund
Right.
upon my
Nobody pays.
tax
But if
return.
we're going to keep it at 1/4%, it'll still be at 2%, and therefore, we don't need that language.
Well, anyways, as a
But you
compromise.
have less money, can't help.
I understand.
Right.
Right, we
And you
understand.
cannot then do what we talked about the other night.
Right, that's what I was gonna say.
Fine.
It would
Fine.
have all the percentages that's in the new ordinance would be skewed. because
Well, they'd
would-
all be
They would
changed.
have to be changed.
Right,
And then
Well-
we'd have to basically,
But how much money do
Reconvene.
we lose if we take it to 2
$1 million.
2, round up?
About $1 million.
right.
That's the roads, right there.
How much do
No.
we gain? Well, never mind.
No, let's move
About $1
on.
million. All right, about 1.2.
We'll gain about $1 million, but,
Right.
based on the fact that we have a decline in revenues coming in on the income tax,
Right.
and we were short by $275,000 this year, they're certainly going to impact us into the future, and it continues to.
We will have $1 million more than we would have with 1.75, but we will have not 2 million instead of.
But we're also gonna have a carryover of 400,000.
Well, we don't-
So
whatever we're
we're not having
going
a
to do.
plethora of money.
How do you figure that we're going to have $1 million more? Where do you figure that?
Because if we change the income tax rate from 1.75 to 2.0,
That's right.
then we will have $1 million more
Correct.
than we would have without
These are
it.
the new ones?
but that would be the same,
Those are the,
that would be the same amount that we
Thank
are
you,
operating on
Josephine.
in 16.
No, it's not the same amount because the 1/4% that we were using to pay the rec center bills and the rec center debt, which is now expired, would no longer be there.
And you realize that 450,000 of.
Well, I understand what has been
Yes,
said, yes.
450,000.
Everybody knows.
450,000 of the $1 million is going to go towards operating.
Yeah,
So that
yeah, we're
only
not
leave-
surprised.
That only leaves you 550,000, and you have
Well,
And that was
$41 million
for
in
stormwater.
infrastructure.
okay, I get it.
So hold on,
You get it?
we get it.
Mhm.
If we go only to 2, and that's why the discussion the other night is 2 didn't give us enough money to be able to do roads, rec center, stormwater. That's why it was 2 1/4. Mr. Bilkey's idea was then,
Mhm.
if we give a tax credit, there is no resident, regardless if they work in the city or out of the city, that would pay the increase to 2 1/4.
Mhm.
I thought we all walked away with that understanding the other night, but it appears there was some confusion.
Okay, no confusion.
No, you just asked questions that indicate, both of you, that it's confused, so.
I was confused, I will admit it. That makes
Okay.
everyone feel better.
Dave, do you have any other questions?
No,
No.
I would make the amendment, and see what happens.
You have that right.
Thank you.
Moving on to ordinance 12, the appointment of the mayor Susan Roganish to the full-time administrative assistant for the building department. I think we've already talked about
We've already
this.
talked about, currently she's been working in the Recs department. She's replacing somebody that left, which is Desiree, and
So Desiree has already left.
she's
Yes.
already left. She's
She's
been gone
neutral, right?
for about,
Budget neutral.
yeah.
So she is basically replacing at the same salary level, is that what we're saying, or a different salary level?
I don't think
She's a little bit less.
She's less, yeah, I think she's
Okay.
less.
All right.
Where'd Desiree go?
Desiree went to Beechwood.
Oh, okay.
We continue to lose good employees.
Kevin, take 12, please. Moving to 13, appointment of the mayor of Lisa Hamrick from Hamrick Truck Driving School for part-time accounts receivable.
Is she really?
Couldn't resist that one, sorry.
You could resist.
You never heard of Hamrick Truck Driving School?
Yep,
I know.
all the time.
Okay.
This was the split, I believe, that we talked about it before as well,
She's going part, she's a part-time person in the finance department.
budget neutral.
Actually, she is a little bit higher than Mariah, but she is now part-time versus Mariah being.
Jan, will you
So-
take that one?
Sure, so
She
it's
is what now? I'm just-
Part-time
She's a part-time employee.
replacing
for-
a full-time.
Replacing a full-time.
Thank you.
And who is she replacing?
I'm sorry?
Who is she replacing?
Mariah, Terry?
All right.
Yeah, we.
Not Mariah Carey.
Mariah Terry.
We went through this
hired her in
last-
May.
Okay,
She's left already.
all right, okay.
Yeah, we talked
We-
about
we
Mariah
made
last
Laura
time.
Budo full-time, so Laura was
Right.
part-time, so.
Right, she was over in
Service is
service.
service, right.
This is finance.
And finally, we have the donation, I will take that one, from the
Okay.
Cotton Candy Quilt Guild. Wow, so we got 5 times fast.
All right.
You don't know.
I have a burning question. Cotton candy guilt quilt guild of Hiram, Ohio. What the, why, what? Hiram, Ohio?
I don't know if there's some relationship.
They use the community rooms to do their program.
Oh,
That's cool. That's very
I
nice.
thought that
of them.
myself.
all right.
Very nice.
That's it. And we are on time, folks.
Yep, 7:30.
A council meeting. Today is January 26th, 2017. I'd ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Bilkey.
Here.
Mr. Engel.
Here.
Ms. Hannikin.
Here.
Mr. Molnar.
Here.
And Ms. Tully.
Here.
Okay, at this time, I would call on Tom O'Brien, American Legion Post 801 chaplain for the city as well. And Tom, thank you. Please rise.
Your Honor, just prior to getting started here, I'd like to just take a second to wish our service director, Mr. John Nadovich, a belated happy birthday. And now, gentlemen, please uncover. With bowed heads, let us pray. Almighty God, as we gather together this evening for our Macedonia City Council meeting, let us be ever mindful that our council members are here to provide those services that meet the needs of our community. And please give guidance to our council members to work together for the common good that serves all of our citizens. We beseech ye, Almighty God, to watch over the men and women who work tirelessly in our police and fire departments, for they are truly the heroes in our community. And lastly, give comfort and special blessing to our neighbors who may be less fortunate than ourselves, and to those who suffer from physical or mental disabilities. Amen. And now with hand over heart, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chaplain. Another fine job you've done. Okay, first item on the agenda outside of that is the financial report, acknowledging receipt of the financial report dated December 31st, 2016.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we acknowledge receipt of the financial report dated December 31st, 2016.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is public comments. If there's anyone here that would like to speak, they certainly had to sign in on this sheet, which I have about 4 or 5 people. I'd ask that when you're called upon, you'd step forward, come to the mic, give us your name and address. And the first one on the list is Kurt Lombinger. Mr. Lombinger.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Any statements I'm making tonight are in my opinion, and I want that for the record, please. About 2.5 years ago, I came before Council with a concern about the Freeway Drive, and I'm speaking about South Freeway Drive, where the bridge, the new bridges over Ledge Road and the railroad tracks were being put. That's for 271. And I asked about what's going to happen when that road gets damaged, when they have all these large cranes and so forth lifting these beams. And I was told at the time, don't worry about that, don't be concerned about that. We'll have a picture taken, and then once the work's done, we'll compare it to see if the road's been damaged, and if so, then Great Lakes will have to pave the road. Well, it appears to me that Great Lakes has been here and gone, and I'd like to know why that road hasn't been paved. If you go up there, there's a lot of holes in there. It's in terrible shape, and it's going to only get worse. And that was all caused by the construction work and along the berms there and everything else.
Obviously, I wasn't here as mayor 2.5 years ago, but I certainly will look into any damage that was created by Great Lakes, and if we have any photos, I'm assuming that we may be able to find some.
Yeah, and again, Mayor, just like yourself, I wasn't here at that time either, so. But I would say this much, Great Lakes did pave the section of Ledge Road under the bridge in the area between North and South Freeway Drive, so that is a brand new pavement right there, so.
Yeah,
where are you referencing, Kurt?
I'm referencing going from Ledge Road on South Freeway headed towards 82. As you go underneath the railroad.
Oh, you're talking about on Freeway Drive itself?
Yes, Freeway Drive.
Oh, he's talking about on Freeway Drive, not on, yeah.
Okay. Ledge Road, that was paved underneath the bridge, but part of that was done because they had a water line break there and everything else, and they tore up Ledge Road after everything else was done, and they put that in there. They also did a little bit of North Freeway Drive as you're getting off of Ledge Road going to the left.
Okay.
But that was to be done. And just to give you a little bit of history about that real fast, back in 2008, Council got together, and this is because of the property owners on Freeway Drive. Freeway Drive was in terrible shape. The property owners along there said, look, we don't like this. We want this paved. Like right now, there was no money to do it. So all of us got together, and we were assessed to do that road, half with the city and half to ourselves. Because, like everybody says, when the road's bad, the property, is devalued and everything else. We've done that. That's our money there. I'm assessed $30,000 to take care of my share of that road.
And you agree with that, Kurt, that when the roads are bad, it takes away from your property value?
Yeah, I'm not going to deny that, saying that. That's right. I will make that statement. But I expect that to be done also, so my value of my property is up there after I put the $30,000 in it. I expect it to be done to keep that there, and I expect you to have it done for us. That's all.
I will certainly look into it. I will certainly have our city engineer go over there, take an evaluation of it, contact ODOT, and if they have deteriorated the condition under that bridge or anywhere else where they were working, I certainly am going to push very hard for them to repair it.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I hope you'll keep me informed as to what's happening over there.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Richard Seuss, Mr. Seuss.
Okay, first I want to apologize to everybody for being a little bit loud and abrasive last week. If you were here, as out of line. I don't appreciate or think that any resident who comes to a city council meeting should have to deal with being eyed down, mean mugged, or any other kind of intimidating behavior by any city employee, whether it's the mayor or anybody else. And I don't appreciate it, and that's why I went off. But I do apologize. Anyway, my questioning is about issue 19 again. I can't get this clear in my head, okay? I'm slow, okay? So I'm gonna have a couple basic questions, and I'll each ask you each give me an answer, okay? First question. Did any of you ever see any written cost estimate or contractual agreement regarding the cost of building and maintaining of the outdoor pool proposed in issue 19, Macedonia's Recreational Center Improvement Levy? Mr. Engel.
What did you say? How did you define it?
Did you ever see any written cost estimate
No.
for the work?
No.
Mrs. Hannigan.
No.
Mr. Bilkey.
Yes,
You did.
I did.
Is that a matter of public record?
It was from Wadsworth.
Regarding
It was
Macedonia's
Wadsworth,
pool.
right.
We.
No, it's a simple yes or no question.
Well, I said
Listen,
yes.
I'm going to ask you to ask your question, allow him to answer.
Well, but I just wanted a yes or no answer. No.
Excuse me, Mr. Seuss, you're not running this meeting, I am. okay?
Again, I know.
I
And
know.
you're a city employee, and you need to
No,
understand it.
I'm an elected
I write
official.
your check.
You
I'm
write
your
my
boss.
check.
Me and all the other residents,
Listen, Mr.
we write
Seuss,
your
you're
check.
getting out of hand. I'm going to tell you right now. Ask your question.
I did.
He'll
It's
answer.
a yes or no
I will
question.
answer. You're out of order.
It's a yes or no question. Jan,
You're not putting
Jan,
people under interrogation up here. You just ask your
leave your
question. and
ego
then
at the
they can
door,
answer.
Mayor. It's a yes or no question.
You don't seem to understand, do you?
No,
You're
I don't.
not interrogating us up here.
It was a simple question, yes or no.
Well, give him a
I
chance
think
to
that
answer.
it
He's trying to.
warranted-
You
talk.
said you seen a contractual agreement for the pool that was to be built at the recreation.
No, I didn't see a contractual agreement.
That's what I
Yeah,
asked.
well, no, then no
Okay.
contractual agreement.
Okay, Mr.
was-
Miglerini, did you see any contractual agreement for it?
Contract? No,
Mr.
No
Molnar?
contractual agreement.
no contractual.
No
Ms. Lowe.
contracts have been signed or
Okay.
presented.
So there was no estimate. It could have been a picture of a pool for the, at Cedar Point, and said, for 20 years, we can have this. You have no idea, correct?
That's not true.
No, well, you did not get any contracts on
We
it, any
did-
bids on it.
we did go
Here's
out
the
and-
other part to
we did
this.
go out
Here's-
and
no,
use-
shh. Other part to this.
I mean, do you want an answer?
Here, shh.
Do you want an answer, or do you want to just interrupt me?
It was a yes or no answer, and you
Well,
answered
I'm
no.
gonna-
You
I'm
all
gonna-
answered no. You had no idea what it cost.
That's not true.
End of
That's the
story.
point that you don't understand.
Hold on.
We did understand what it cost.
Hold on.
No.
They had a contract.
No contractual agreement was ever seen
Listen.
or,
We got an estimate.
Do not argue.
You have a
Let
written
him ask his
estimate?
questions.
I gotta see that.
You have to ask the
Here's the other
questions,
part.
or I'm going to cut you short. Ask your questions, and you'll and elicit an answer.
Okay,
Please.
here's the other part. It is misleading to the voters to put items on a tax increase levy without any facts as to the actual cost of the items put on the levy. This is a true or false question. I don't want to get crazy, but it's true or false. Is that a true statement, Mr. Engel?
Read it again.
It is misleading to the voters to put items on a tax increase levy without any facts as to the actual cost of the items put on the levy.
I'd agree with that statement.
I agree.
I agree.
Agree.
Okay, so we're in agreement that you deliberately tried to mislead the
No, wait,
voters.
no.
Oh, no, wait.
You know
You
what?
just said it was true.
That is your interpretation,
amplifying your
Mr.
answer
Seuss.
to fit
I
your
see.
needs here, Mr. Seuss.
Mr. Seuss, you were here when we put this on the ballot for the first time ever. Were you
No, I
not?
understand it's not. We're gonna put it up there again.
No,
Somewhat.
when we put it up 20 years
It was
ago.
simple, yes and no, and true and false, and you pretty much answered that. You put a misleading items on a levy, and you expected the voters to vote on it. And now, the point I'm trying to make with this is you don't understand why the voters in the city don't trust the judgment of this council and the mayor. Okay? Do you understand that now? I'm trying to make it as clear as I can.
You asked if we had a contract, and we did not. It doesn't mean that we did not
You
have
had no
estimates.
idea. You could have put a picture of the
See, you don't let me
Cedar
finish.
Point's
Never mind.
improvement of their water.
You're proving the
department.
point that we should not let you speak here.
I proved my point. You tried to mislead the voters.
That's
Who
not
got
true.
censored last meeting?
That's not
For
true at
misleading
all.
the voters. Who got censored? Now, we didn't have to pull any facts or figures, switch things around or anything. You just told me and everybody else here, you misled the voters.
$3 million, $1 million.
Okay. Are you done, Mr. Seuss? Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next on the agenda here is to speak Melissa. Excuse me. The next person on this list here to speak is Melissa Cranky. Am I saying that right? Hi, Melissa.
Hi. So, before I get into my prepared statements, I'll just say that people generally see what they're looking for. So, I'm here tonight to speak in favor of the tax proposal because I think it's a responsible choice for our city. In a recent Nordonia News Leader article, 2 of our councilors were noted to have voted against this proposal. Councilor Hannikin stated that she's concerned about businesses because we cannot compete with cities like, quote, Solon, Twinsburg, and Stowe. What she didn't mention is that Solon, Twinsburg, and Stowe already have rates of 2%, whereas our Macedonia rate is going to drop in July to 1.75%. Councilor Engel then stated that we need to, quote, take a serious look at attempting to cut our operating costs. So I want to ask Ms. Hannikin and Mr. Engel why Macedonia residents should receive less. Many Macedonia residents already pay more than 2%. I personally pay 2.25% because I work in the city of Kent. So I certainly don't want my tax dollars to be going to the city of Kent and not my city of Macedonia. And while spending cuts sound great in theory, and certainly there's always minor cuts that can be made, what will that mean for the resident if we need to cut taxes so much to offset the cost for the roads in our Parks and Rec? Does that mean continued decline of our Parks and Recreation Center? Should we reduce our rec center hours or cut programs for our families? Should we have further decline of our roads and more wear on our vehicles? How about we cut our police officers or our firemen? You know, how would you feel if you called 911 and took quite a while for them to get to you? Should we get rid of our snowplow services for our seniors? Should we eliminate leaf pickup for our residents? What if your street stayed covered in snow because we didn't have enough staff and equipment to clear our roads efficiently? Should we cut funding for our highly rated school district, leading to a decline in our state ranking, which would of course significantly affect all of our property values? Should we cut city workers who maintain our parks and patch our roads and do repairs? The list goes on and on. We can choose to live in a rundown and underfunded city. We can choose to save our pennies, but we can't have our cake and eat it too. We have to make a choice. We can choose to make this city great. We can choose to invest in Macedonia, our families, our property, and our future. It's well past time for us to stand up for the future of Macedonia. I'm coordinating a group of residents who will be working to inform the community and answer questions or concerns about the proposed tax increase. Please see me or contact me if you'd like to be a part of a brighter future for the city of Macedonia. Together, we will work to do what is right for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Brandt.
Hello, my name is Jessica Brandt. I live on Blue Jay Trail. I watched the video of Tuesday's finance meetings, and I just have some things I want to say with regards to that. I'm really bad at public speaking, so I typed up, so I apologize for reading. But first I want to thank Mr. Bilkey for taking the time to work with Ms. Hall, Mr. Gazzetti, and the mayor to come up with a new plan for getting the revenue the city needs via an increase in income tax. It's clear that you put work into something creative that can hopefully bridge the gap of the small number of voters that did not feel that the issues presented in November suited them. If this plan becomes a ballot issue for the next election, I look forward to helping it get passed so that our city can get back to the path of a bright future. I noticed in the finance meeting that Ms. Hannikin had the beginnings of a plan to help save the city from financial ruin, which is to cut the budget 7% across the board. But there were no specifics of where these cuts could or should be made. Ms. Hannikin, you said in your informational meeting in October that you envisioned another vote in May for a plan better than the one on the November ballot. You've known since October that if you had your way, there would be a need for another plan up for vote in May. Where is your plan? What department heads have you spoken with that have told you where they have room to cut their budget? As part of the Redevelopment and Future Growth Committee, I've had the privilege of being in meetings with all the department heads over the past year. Each one of them, aside from Chief Black, who is a very optimistic guy, and indicated that their department was falling behind in staffing, equipment, and basic maintenance of their space. 5-year plans have been repeatedly ignored year after year. Safety equipment, service equipment, and even buildings are in disrepair, and departments are making do. Each department, even the fire department, has plans for improvement they would like to see if there were money, but no one is banking on that money. Across the board, the entire staff of the city is adding another layer of duct tape to keep their department moving along. And if you're familiar with the economic theory of the high cost of poverty, that duct tape is really starting to cost the city a lot of money. Cutting salaries and benefits to get your 7% reduction is not the answer either. While it's not an economic theory, the idiom, "you get what you pay for," seems to be a pretty solid piece of wisdom. To attract and keep the best people working here, you have to pay what they are worth. You have to pay with people with college degrees, top testing scores, certifications, and/or years of experience. That is just good business. You groan and grimace about the cost of adding staff to support our growing city, but do you not hear the reports from the departments about how wonderful it has been to finally have a full-time dedicated IT employee? Did you not hear the report about how this very employee is saving the city $1,500 a month by installing a new phone system? This is an incredible example of how proper staffing and updated equipment can both improve the city's well-being and save the city money with just a small investment in capital. This is something we should be able to do for every department across the city, but not if your proposal is to cut the budget and remove staff. Perhaps if you spent the time between October and now researching the feasibility of across-the-board budget cuts, you know that what you are hoping to do just isn't feasible. I don't know how the advice of the department heads and the city's finance director and the mayor, who's also a business person, has not convinced you that your path is misguided. I wish that you would embrace the new income tax increase as a possibility to save the city. Watch that income like a hawk. Dole it out like a miser. Sit up there and guarantee the voters that you will not let their money go to waste or line the pockets of whatever evil entity they feel is looming. Tell the seniors that you helped protect their fixed budgets and their city-provided services by avoiding property tax increases. Tell everyone that the city is safer, cleaner, prettier, and more modern than ever because you supported an income tax increase that brought millions to the city and cost the voters nothing. I really wish you would get behind this. Please just stop dragging your feet, stop using lack of more information as an excuse, and start listening to your fellow councilors who have done the work, the mayor who has experience, and the department heads who are running this city every day. There is a place for you and your ideas on this council, Ms. Hannikin, but you've taken the role of contrarian too far. I have a feeling that the income tax increase will be added to the ballot this May, and I hope that Ms. Hannikin and Mr. Engel can see it as a tremendous benefit that it will bring to the city. I hope you love Macedonia as much as I do, and will be able to put any personal bad feelings aside and help get the new proposal passed. Also, in closing, I would like to say, please someone do something to help the Loya family with their home. I'm embarrassed and disgusted that my city has been giving my best friends the runaround for this long. We are absolutely blessed to have a family such as theirs in our city, and it's a shame that people who have worked so hard to get their problems solved have been so roundly ignored while other people have shown up to a meeting or two, put the right election sign in their yard, and are immediately taken care of. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Next, Karen Bartolozzi.
Hi, Karen Barlozzi, Driftwood. I spoke before last August about my road, Driftwood's number 22, on the engineer's list from 2015. On that list, it tells you how much my road would cost and cumulative what it would be. 22 would be $6.7 million to get to my road. Then I read now that Ledge Road is now going to cost us money because of the deal with Northfield.
Under issue 2, yes. Because there's a partial grant would be coming.
Yes, we still got to pay $700,000, right? Where's that coming from?
At this point, we don't have the money to spend there.
Then they're going to build it either 2017 or 2018, right? They're going to start it?
I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure. Joe, what's the status on that?
Yeah, Mayor, the status is that's slated for summer of 2018. And to expand upon that, it's being funded by Ohio Public Works Commission in the form of a grant for 90% of our share.
$700,000.
Our share is $810,000.
Okay. I'd like to know where that's coming from with all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
Well, it's funded. Right? Yeah, it's funded in the form of a loan for 90% of our share.
Right.
So we owe 10%. of $810,000.
So we're
We'll
really-
owe that in 2018.
Okay, so we're willing to take a loan out for the rest?
And we take a 30-year loan out with
We're
0%
okay.
interest for the rest.
Okay.
Well, we may not have the money, obviously, because
To
we
take the loan out or to pay out 10%?
to do either.
Okay, so that's over our heads
Yeah.
also, that's being forced by Northfield. Starting-
Well, it's not being forced by Northfield. We were working with them in
They're doing
conjunction
their
with
part,
them.
we
Yeah.
need to do our part, right? That's
Yeah.
what I mean?
Right.
Okay, so my road's number 22, maybe, it was, so like I say, $6 million. The plan in August that Kevin brought up would take still 5 years to get to my road. Now we're cutting it in half. It'll take 10, 12 years to get to my road. Now my question is next is who's gonna pay for the damage that's already happening to my driveway because of my road? I got an apron that's coming up because of the way it's doing. Who's gonna pay for that? Do I have to, or will the city do it when it's damaged because the road's not being repaired? It's just a little part of the apron. Just a little part.
I wish I had.
Because the road goes up.
I wish I had a good answer for you. I
Okay.
think that's why I'm pushing as hard as I'm pushing to try to get monies back in the coffers so that we can do these projects and
Okay.
operate the city.
All right, thank you. I'm willing to pay 2.25 and not even ask for a refund. I checked out, we paid, you said 9 cents a dollar to the city for my property taxes. For this great service that I've gotten from each really department, I paid $306. That's dirt cheap. And the city's starting to look cheap because of that. I want to pay more because I get more. So I'm willing to pay. I've been willing to pay since August. I moved here in 2014, and this place is getting me mad. Quit kicking it down the can, like the chief said on Tuesday. I haven't been here long enough, but you've been on council for a while. You've been just 4 years, right? You've been on for a while, and so have you.
No, I've been on 2 years.
So it's been kicked down the road, but some of you are already on here. Stop it. I'm willing to pay. A lot of us are willing to pay. Okay? I'm willing to pay. I don't even want the refund. Keep it. If it helps my road or somebody else's road. Because you're never going to get to my road the way you guys are going. And I'm 22. And I'm not even the worst one. There's 20 more above me. Please understand that, okay? And one more question, Ms. Hannigan, are you going to actively campaign against this if it passes tonight? Are you going to actively campaign again because you're already 2 for 2? Can you go on record saying you're going to do it or not?
I'm not going on record about much of anything other than tonight we're talking an amendment, okay? And then I'm going to explain my perspective on this, which I know you'll be rapt attention here, so please go ahead.
It has to go, to get on May, it has to be done by,
Has to be
It's
filed by
basically-
February 1st.
Which
If
means it should
we
be-
do this in May, it will
it
have
should
to
be
be done.
the meeting that it is decided.
Well, this is the meeting it will be decided because it's on third reading.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda would be, let's see, pending legislation. And the first item is ordinance number 6, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I move to offer ordinance number 6, 2017, for its second and third reading by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion's carried.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a subscription agreement with Wellwright Limited LLC to provide a wellness program for full-time city employees.
You've heard the reading?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post ordinance number 6, 2017, and post the same according to law.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 7.
Mr. Mayor, I move to offer ordinance number 7, 2017, for its second and third reading by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
An ordinance amending section 6120 of the codified ordinances of the city of Macedonia, Ohio relative to employee health care.
Okay, you've heard the reading?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post ordinance number 7, 2017, to the same according to law.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 9, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, again, I move to offer ordinance number 9, 2017, for its second and third reading by title only.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried.
An emergency ordinance amending ordinance number 63, 2010, relative to the billing for the services of a municipal water system, a utility of the City of Macedonia, Ohio, distributing City of Cleveland water.
You've heard the reading?
I do have to make a comment before I vote. I know that we're going to put about $150,000 back into something that's containing with stormwater here. That's what we're doing. If you want to explain a little bit more.
Sure. And I will, but let's take the motion
Okay.
and the second first, please.
Okay, I guess my comment was, does it have to be a leaf machine, or can we do something else? And has that been decided?
Okay. Well, it's decided per the ordinance itself that we got to move it towards a stormwater related.
But not necessarily leaf.
It doesn't necessarily have to be leaf, but we certainly have to spend it on something that's going to be related to water, stormwater type of projects.
Okay, so with that said, I move that we pass and post ordinance number 9, 2017 to the same according to law.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Again, is there any questions or comments?
Oh, I'm sorry, is that what I'm supposed to do?
I'd like a roll call on this one, please.
We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Bilkey?
Like I said, my only comment is that let's move this money to something that can benefit to our anything that's related with stormwater. Doesn't necessarily have to be a leaf machine. I'd just look into what could benefit more than just one area, but I feel confident the mayor will do that, so I vote yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
This is originally to maintain our water systems, and this has been passed to this maintenance has been passed to the City of Cleveland. By agreements that we've made, this was originally $20.30 for maintaining these systems. I personally think that either we should have a very specific reason why we want to direct it to something else, or we should reduce this based on some logic. But this is specifically a special assessment on every Macedonian. So in my own mind is we could reduce this or get rid of it. I'm going to vote no on this.
Mr. Molnar?
Just to be clear, we were all explaining the legalities of the situation. We can only divert this money in certain ways. Now, there has to be stormwater related, and whether or not everyone's aware, the leaf pickup is vital to your stormwater program. I've had a call last week where leaves blocked up a grate and caused a river down a lady's driveway in her front yard and made a gully that if any of you saw that in your front yard, you'd be screaming just as loud as she was. So leaf pickup is vital for stormwater. It is a very, very important piece that we have to do. And if the service department and the mayor are saying, hey, we need a leaf machine, which comes at a pretty high cost. John, what's a leaf machine?
Almost $75,000.
$75,000. Every year, I recall back, we had one person who was a peach and stuck bricks in his leaf pile, which destroyed our machine. I mean, this thing's vital. We have to have it. It's important. So the idea here is legally, we found a way that we can divert that money to stay in the stormwater realm and help to solve this problem. So I'm an absolute yes.
Mrs. Tully?
For those who are a little confused, it specifically states in Section 2 where the money can be spent. Thank
It's
you.
underlined. Yeah.
Thank you. Where 50% of such money shall be used for leaf and branch pickup and expenses related. Such monies may also be used in payment of debts incurred in the construction and acquisition of said water system when not otherwise needed as proved above. It's very specific. My vote is yes.
Motion's carried, and I just want to make one statement, is that this is not something that's new. This Water M&E Fund has been around for a lot of years. It amounts to $20.80 a year to residents. That fund is growing and has grown because we are not having to put as much money towards the water lines. And now that the City of Cleveland, and through our agreement, has taken over control of those lines, this fund is going to continue to grow. We still will need money, though, however, to take care of the hydrants. That's why I'm not asking it to be depleted. We're taking only 50% of it and moving it to somewhere else in the city that will help stormwater and other related issues. And so it's pretty clear. And it's not a new tax. It's not a new charge. It's not a new fee. It's not a new service. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is 10, ordinance number 10.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, I'd move that we table ordinance 10 indefinitely.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 11.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 11, 2017, for its third reading by title only.
Second.
Oh.
So you don't need a second.
We have a motion and a second.
An emergency ordinance amending sections 18201B and 18204A of the codified ordinances of the City of Macedonia, Ohio, in order to increase the city's income tax rate to 0.5%, starting July 1, 2017, and continuing thereafter for the road improvements and stormwater projects, and submitting the same to the electors May 2nd, 2017.
I think that it should say by increase the income tax rate, not to 0.5%, but by 0.5%, by.
Yeah, it should be by.
Because
It does
otherwise
say
it
by.
will be
It says
reducing
by.
our.
It was just in my title that I.
In the ordinance.
Yeah, it's not in the ordinance.
Mark, can
but
you
I just thought I'd
explain what it
mention that.
states, please?
Yeah, it does, if you look at the
ordinance is
title
correct.
of the ordinance, it does say by 0.5%.
Right, I know it does, I just wanted to make
It
sure
says that in the
we were not
ordinance.
confused on
Yeah, it's
the
my
actual
typo.
vote.
Clerk
Okay.
did it.
Okay, you've heard the reading.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, if I may, I'd like to make a motion to amend section 102.01B1 to read, the first sentence to read, and to continue the rate of 2% after July 1, 2017. So I'm, excuse me. So I'm making a motion that we only do it at 0.25%.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bilkey?
This was just brought to our attention prior to this meeting. And, with the way that the ordinance reads, there's percentages that are assigned earmarked. So it just wouldn't be possible right now for my brain to calculate what those percentages would be if it went to 2%. I wish this was brought to the attention when we were at the finance meeting on Tuesday night. It would have been much easier to work out something then. So I'm going to vote no.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin?
Yes, and if I may, I'm going to take some time here to speak to some of the issues that were raised, because I think that it's important.
Well, I don't know.
Could we vote
talk
on
about the
amendment
issues.
first?
Let's talk about this amendment first, because it's really the amendment.
Right.
If you want to talk about the amendment itself, then we're more than happy. I don't want to address everybody else's issues at this time.
Well, I've been sitting here listening to this and all the emotives that have been attributed to me, so if I can't speak now, I'll speak later on that
Well, you
point.
certainly can. I mean, I'm
All right.
not trying to tell you can't speak on the issue, but we're trying to keep it confined to the amendment
Well,
issue, at least
I
at
will
this
at
time.
least start at this point. I believe that what we're looking at is we are modifying this ordinance to keep a 2% tax rate. Okay, that's what this means. So we would not be raising anybody's taxes, and we won't have to refund anything to anybody because we won't be raising those taxes. Currently,
So is that a yes? I thought we were going to vote on
I
the
thought we were
motion.
going to allow me to comment, but if that's not, I already voted for this, so.
Okay, so you
I-
don't need to qualify your yes then vote.
Well,
so-
no, I do not.
Okay.
Mr. Molnar?
No.
Ms. Tully?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
The amendment fails for a
No.
lack of majority.
I believe I have to make an amendment, Mark,
They were all done.
No, the
for
amendments were
section,
done.
no,
The
B2.
ordinance been revised to comply with the amendment made at the special meeting.
Everyone's done.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you can see in B2, with section 182.01, the percentages were changed to comply with the proposal submitted by Mr. Bilkey, and there were some other non-substantive changes regarding the program name, the refund program name.
Did I make an amendment, or did we do that?
You don't need to.
You did all that.
It's all done.
It's all
Okay.
done. We don't need to make amendments. Thank you. Okay, we,
Okay. I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that we pass and accept, post according to law, ordinance number 11, 2017, please.
You don't need one.
I have a motion, we need a second.
Second. On the third reading?
Yes,
I
this is
did
the
read
third
it.
reading. She's already made the reading, this is to adopt,
Okay,
post-adopt.
second. Sorry.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Are there any comments?
We do a
Yes.
roll call here.
Okay, we're going to do a roll call.
Yes, I have comments.
Okay,
Have them
well, let's do the roll call, and then you can comment at the time of your vote.
Okay, it's fine.
Mr. Bilkey?
I'm going to pass.
I'll vote after.
I don't think you can.
Mr. Yeah,
No.
he can pass.
Oh, we can all pass.
And then we'll be back to where you are.
All right, I'll go first. No,
Mr. Engel?
I did say no.
Yes, I heard you.
All right.
Ms. Hannigan?
So may I comment now, or is that going to be?
Yes.
Okay. There are several reasons why I'm going to vote no for this. First is, this is being brought forward and before we've had a chance to even discuss this year's budget and what the baseline ought to be and what our capital plan really ought to be. That's number one. Number two, and so I'm not convinced that we need 2.25% to be able to pay for the roads that we need to pay for. I am convinced we need at least 2%. So I'm basically looking at this as these items have been put before the voters twice, and they've said no. But yet we're back without even a full discussion of what our baseline budget needs to be in terms of operations. We have been over the years paying, obviously, for salaries, for all kinds of capital needs inside that 1.75%. And we even paid for $1 million worth of roads in several years using part of that 1.75%. So there is no inherent belief necessary to believe that we can't use some of that money for capital needs already. And I don't believe that we are using it properly because we don't have a baseline that says we are going to start at least only spending what we spent last year, which in fact we are not doing. The proposal this year is to spend 13% more than we did in 2016, which is last year. I don't think there's any basis for believing we need to do that. I think it's more important that we consider the road needs now. And let me go to some other issues here. The actual basis for all spending should be to put the priorities correctly. And the correct priorities, in my opinion, since we have used that 1.75% in the past to pay for roads and vehicles and all kinds of things, is to balance our operational needs with our capital needs. Second, I believe we need to focus on spending money on roads and specifically some other types of equipment over an increase in operations spending. And that's what I object to in this process. Third, I'm not opposed to any and all tax proposals. I don't think it's the best thing to put it on in May before we really work through our budget in a fiscally sound way. And it's not protected. It's not because I don't think Macedonia needs to have money to repair roads. We clearly do, or buy other equipment, or all these other things that people have mentioned. What we need is a thorough vetting of our budget and understanding what we're spending on and which priorities we have in order. As to my view on this, this is unjustified and unsubstantiated increase. Not because we don't need money to fix our roads, we do, but we haven't worked through what our baseline needs to be and what we need to ask our residents to pay for. So I'm voting no on this, and I would like to have us look at other ways of doing it, but clearly that's, once again, we're just going to put it on the ballot and we're going to ask our residents to do this without working it through as a council. So I'm voting no.
Mr. Molnar?
Tuesday, we had a finance meeting, one of many finance meetings that we sit down and we spin our wheels in mud. A lot of times, and one of the things that's frustrating for me, but what I've learned over time being on council is you need to take your time and think about what you want to do moving forward and not be so contentious and listen to other people's thoughts and ideas. Ms. Hannikin stated on Tuesday that we need to be a unified front when we put this together and have a collaborative effort. I'm sorry, collaborative is not the right word. What was the word?
Unified.
Unified front. At that time, we had a proposal that majority of council had supported, and Ms. Hannikin's idea was to cut 6% from across the board. I offered an option to say, all right, we'll work with you. We'll give you that 6%, support us on this. We'll have our unified front. We'll move forward, and we'll start to address our needs. No. Well, what do you want to do? Not that. When do you want to go? Not now. We need more time to talk. We need more time to think. We need more time to spin our wheels in mud. We're spinning our wheels in gravel now, folks. Our roads they suck. I'm sorry, they suck. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of going to people's houses. You know, I look at these every time I sit up here. A guy sent me an email today and said, I'm going to bring you a bucket of the stones from my road. Well, I said, I actually look at them every meeting because it's a reminder to me, and they're very small ones, I know, but it's a reminder to me of what we have to do and what our priorities are. It's also very fortuitous in an election year to say, no, we're not going to put a tax levy on. We have a need here. We know we have a need. I trust our CPA, our certified public accountant, with the numbers that she's given me. I'm not going to contort her numbers. I'm not educated in finance. I took one finance class in college. It does not make me an expert, nor does anyone else up on this dais have that type of experience that lady does. I have to trust her numbers. We can't continue to look at what she says and say, no, that's not right. Time after time after time on Tuesday, she corrected Ms. Hannikin and what she was saying and said, look, you're not comparing apples to apples. You're taking one thing and you're just mashing it up with other things. Departments didn't go up 13%. We're doing everything we can to stay within our budget. You've got a police department, you've got a fire department, you've got a finance department, our recreation, engineering, and service. That's our core needs. Our job up here is to maintain your safety. A man said to me one time that you want to do all this for special interests. What special interest do I have other than maintaining what's sitting right in front of you? I want to make sure that we're safe. It's our job to pave your road. I got a letter in my council mail recently, and it's going to be read tonight. I got a very upset resident that put $400 into his car because he hit a pothole and messed his vehicle up. He is ticked. I just put $400 in my wife's Jeep. Should I send the bill over to the mayor here? Or should I say, hey, this council needs to have that unified front. We need to start figuring out what we need to do. The question is, are we addressing all our needs? Ms. Bartolozzi brought it up tonight. If we go to 2% and we put it back up for the 0.25%, we don't address a quarter of what we need to do. Even with what we're projecting, we're going to get closer. We're probably, what, would you say 75% the ability to correct everything? And we may even get to your road. We've got some ideas to make that happen. I know that's hard to believe, but we may get to her road. There's ideas that we have moving forward. You have a mayor with experience. You have an engineering firm that is very well respected that can find the ways to make this happen, whether it be through a loan or whatever we need to do. But we're going to try and address all these issues. This is not just, let's just do some of them. It's an election year. Let's wait and see what happens. No, that's not going to work. You've got to work with the department heads. There's not one department head up there that I don't call on a regular basis, and I'm sure you will all nod your head that I probably annoy all of you. But I have the ability to work with you. I have the ability to call you, just like any other council person up here can call and ask a question. Has any of you been contacted by the two at the end of this dais about any of these issues? Yes or no?
No.
No.
and I'm sorry to put you guys on the spot, but I'm trying to make a point here. If you're going to understand the complexities and the problems that we have, wouldn't you talk to the experts? These are the people that we pay a good sum of money for, and rightfully so, to do their jobs. That's why they're there. That's why I trusted them. The last question, and I'm going to leave it with this, and I'm sorry to be long-winded, this is not like me. Who are we protecting? What's being proposed tonight, what you pay today, you pay tomorrow. It costs these residents nothing. Not $1 does this cost anyone in Macedonia. We heard you. You don't want to spend more money. By 1,000 votes, you said, no, we don't have the money to give you. We heard you. We're asking now the businesses that share in our roads to give us that 0.25%. If you live in this community, this costs you nothing. And by the way, and I'm going to say it again, who are you protecting? The businesses who are your friends? They share in these roads. They should share in the cost of repairing these roads. I don't want to pass this buck to them, but unfortunately, this is where we're at. And the problem is this. If you make $1 million in your business, we're asking you for an additional $2,500. Are we going to break a business? Are they going to say, I'm out of here, $2,500, this is ludicrous? No, it's not going to happen, folks. And if any business says that they're going to leave, I'll eat crow on it. I promise you, I'll be the first one to say, you know what, I made a poor decision up here over that $2,500 on $1 million profit to fix our roads, to finally put us in a position to where this community can be proud again and say, you know what, I got a little bit of pride when I say Macedonia, not, oh my God, their roads are terrible. You know, the park's fallen into disrepair. They can't even do anything in the rec center to replace equipment. This is the time now. We have a choice. This is the tipping point. Which way are we going to go, guys? It's up to you. Votes yes.
Ms. Tully?
First of all, as the chair of the Finance Committee, I want to say thank you to all of council for attending the meetings and bringing forth their ideas. We tried to come to compromise. We tried to listen to all ideas. We tried to find a common ground. We started with 2%. We started with 2.5%. We went to 2.5%. We had budget cuts of 7% proposed. We had budget cuts presented for 6%. We had, let's assess folks for roads and how we could do that assessment. I mean, we didn't just sit there. We talked. And we talked. And we talked about the various ideas. Now, the 7% budget cut turned into a 13% budget cut the other night. The proposal was 7 until we walked in the finance meeting and found out, no, whatever you spent this year, that's all the money you get. Last year, it's all the money you get for this year. Those of you know you can't expect to spend the exact same dollar. And we're not going to go back and every week talk about line items for each department head. The financial report that we got at the end of the year, there isn't a department head that overspent. They all underspent, period. But there isn't enough money left over for us to do anything. Capital, roads, parks, Mrs. Loya, any stormwater, nothing. And as anyone who works in any business knows, what's your number one expense? Employees. Any budget cut, what's the first thing that has to go? Maybe not in the Department of Defense, but it sure is in the private and public sector outside. I know. I live it every year at my job, and I'm still blessed to have missed every cut that has happened. So we're not sitting here thinking that we have a plethora. Mr. LaParle did not win the lottery yet. I keep waiting for him to win the Mega Millions so we get our share of that money. No one in the community has won that lottery. And you cannot budget on hopes and dreams. You have to budget on firm dollars. This plan, I've got to tell you, I walked into the rec center this week, still thinking, yes, no, yes, no. There were people who had watched the meeting who came up to me and said, vote yes. I want my road fixed. I want something new at this rec center. And I went in the middle of the day because normally there's nobody there, so I can run without anybody seeing me. That place was jam-packed. It was beautiful to see. And it wasn't the January, folks that say, I'm going to lose weight this year. It wasn't. It was filled. So how do we say no to that? When we talk about the 2%, it doesn't give us enough money to do anything. The 2.25% gives us the money. And a lot of you who work in Cleveland, what are you going to be paying? 2.5. We're falling behind. This community needs to stay in the forefront. This community needs to grow. I may be on that other side, but I look out here and see people who I know are going to live here 20, 30, 40 more years of their life. I want to leave a legacy that has roads we can drive down. And yes, I hit a couple new holes on Berkshire between Bedford and Crow that opened up overnight. Luckily, I had Greg's truck, not my car. We can't live like this. And so your road may look good, but go to the road next to you, and go to the road next to you. If we don't do something, we're going to close our rec center, and we're going to go to, as I always said for Highland Homes, we're going to go back to brick and gravel. My vote is emphatically yes.
Mr. Bilkey.
When I sat down over the Christmas break to come up with some ideas, the mayor challenged us last year, said, how are we going to come up with the money to help pay for these roads, pay for the rec center? And so I sat down and I put a lot of work in. And the funny thing is, this is probably the last plan, because the first four I thought were either not good enough or something that wouldn't pass with the voters. I just want everyone to understand that the city will be going to 2.25, but the residents will only be paying 2%. They will be getting a refund if they do receive a tax increase. And I think that's I want everyone to make sure that they know. I could stand up here for hours to talk about the process, but I just wanted to take a minute and let everyone know that if you have any questions, please contact me. Don't vote yes, don't vote no without fully understanding what you're voting for. It does have a little bit of complexity to it, and it's unique. We talked to Mark about it, and it might be one of the most unique tax packages ever presented. So I hope that people understand that I wanted to make sure that it passed, and that was the biggest thing, because we all talked about the election last year, that with the increase, 80% of it came in from the businesses or people that worked in the city of Macedonia. And I thought that with Cleveland going to 2.5, that was too much revenue to lose without countering it somehow. So like I said, it's a program that you would have to apply to get your money back, but it'd be an application that you would send to, Kellogg's for a rebate from a cereal box. You write the letter, we give you the money back. With that said, I wanted to thank Joe, Angela, Rhonda. We don't know who I'm pointing at. Joe's the city engineer, Angela's the Department of Parks and Recs, and Rhonda's the financial director. Anytime I had questions, either through text messages or phone calls, I can call it up and get an answer right away, so I wouldn't be stalled at, I won't, truth be told, it was at 4 o'clock in the morning, but for the most part, I was able to get the answers that I needed so I could move forward with the proposal. And I wanted to thank the mayor for, backing this plan, because I'll be honest, it is a little unconventional, but I think, and I hope you all agree, that it will work by putting money into the roads, putting money into the rec center, and putting money into preventative measures, so the roads that we can put off from paving can put off for a few more years. It doesn't solve all our problems, and we know that, but it's a good start to fix the roads. And I want to piggyback on something that Nick said, that we do have a good staff that we can call and work, and I think that's half the battle. And when you have council members that want to solve problems and they don't utilize, you kind of see where the disconnect could be. The other thing I want to say that the baseline is zero. We didn't pave any roads last year, so we do have a baseline. And I've only been on council for 1 year, and we paved 0 roads. in that year, and that's our biggest problem. So, so how do I look? I want to make sure that these roads get paved, and so with that, I will vote yes.
Before I just want to make one comment or two. One is that this issue is not new. This city has been declining in revenue stream for quite a few years. This city has never been able to catch up and get on top of things, because as it was climbing and it was doing very well, all of a sudden we hit a depression in the economy, and that depression caused a lot of lack of income, and the city had to kind of stall out at that time. You can only imagine where we would be today if we didn't have as much commercial industrial base as we do have. But this is not something that this council is rushing into, or that they didn't have enough time to study. Mayor Cookta, when he sat up here in 2015, was asking council to put this to the ballot. And there's a lot of supporting issue as it relates to what I'm saying, that it was recognized that funding coming into the city was declining. We lost $275,000 in income tax collection in 2016. We lost $550,000 in the local government fund. So just take those two alone and see how much money we've lost. We carried over into this year $1,575,000. Why? Because I told all the department heads we had to buckle down and tighten up, because I was worried about our condition. We have currently, right this moment, $2.5 million in infrastructure issues that are outside of just the regular, there's nothing in there that's fluff, if you will. Over the next 5 years, we have a total of $41 million. We're never going to get caught up, folks. And, I came from Warrensville Heights. I grew up in Warrensville Heights. And I used to look at the vibrant communities of Maple Heights and Bedford Heights and Bedford and the surrounding areas over there. And look at them today. They can't even get a levee passed. And God forbid that we wind up that way. And I'm telling you, as I sit up here, that's where we're headed. My heart has been in this city. I've worked very hard in this city. I personally have created thousands of jobs and brought in lots of industry and a lot of commercial development. I don't know what's in the heads over here of these two at the end, but their hearts aren't in the same place as mine and the rest of this council. And it's a shame, because individuals that would rather destroy our community than move it forward, I don't understand where their thinking is. I can understand if somebody says, hey, I don't like taxes and I don't want to vote for any more taxes. But they sit up here and know that this city is so tight that we can't move. We lose good employees day in and day out. You know why? They see what's going on in this city. They see the bickering. Do you know calls that I get from residents that say to me, I moved in here 18 months ago. I lived in Hudson for 23 years. I thought this was a great community. I'm sorry I moved here. You know how that tears at my heart to hear a resident call me and say that? That's truly what's going to happen here, folks. The good quality people that you have here, and people that moved here thinking that Macedonia was a great place to live and raise their family, are going to uproot themselves and go elsewhere. And then what will you be left with? You just heard Mr. Lombinger, who was a lifetime resident of Macedonia, say, if you don't fix your roads, what happens? Your property values depreciate. He was one of your supporters, Sylvia. I think you ought to heed his advice. With that, motion's carried.
I want to be able to say some things now,
Well, you're
because
gonna
you've been
be
a
able to-
sustained attack on me.
You're going to be able to speak in a few seconds. We're almost at the end of this agenda, and then
Okay.
we're going to be able to give you the floor.
Okay.
Next item is ordinance number 12.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Mayor, it's me again. I move to offer ordinance number 12, 2017 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried.
An ordinance confirming the appointment by the mayor of Susan Roganish to the position of full-time administrative assistant within the City of Macedonia Building Department.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post ordinance number 12, 2017 to the same according to law.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 13.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 13, 2017 for its first, second, and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried.
An ordinance confirming the appointment by the mayor of Lisa Hamrick to the position of part-time accounts receivable administrator within the City of Macedonia Finance Department.
Okay, you've heard the reading.
Before I offer this to be posted, let me real quick say this because, we're talking budget. The one that we just passed is a replacement who's coming in at less salary. This one is another replacement, but will be part-time. So neither one is increasing the budget. In fact, they're having a positive impact on the budget. So, Mr. Mayor, saying that, I'd offer that we pass and post according to law ordinance number 13, 2017, please.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is motions and other legislative actions.
Mayor, I make a motion to authorize the finance director to accept on behalf of the City of Macedonia a donation of $100 to the general fund from the, bear with me, Cotton Candy Quilt Guild from Hiram, Ohio.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion's carried. Next item is correspondence. Josephine?
I have several, so just get out your popcorn.
Am I going to
cotton
be able to
candy.
speak now, or do we have to?
Well, we're going to give you that opportunity in just a second.
We're in
Correspondence. Dear Mayor Miglerini, last night my mother-in-law had a stroke, and the quick and professional response from both the police, fire, and ambulance saved her life. They had to break into my home and wake me, sadly. I was unaware of her struggles. The professionalism and help that they gave my family was amazing. Quite frankly, it was all a blur, and they guided me easily through the process. She is recovering in ICU thanks to the team that responded to the 911 call from her friend. Please pass this along. Very, very grateful. Miss Bonnie Kimberline from Boulder Ridge Lane. And this pertains to Patrolman Jason Hedrick, Sergeant Aaron Cleland, Firefighter Rich Kalish, Phil Isaac, and Lieutenant Paul Solinsky. This is regards to Sergeant Glantz. Miss Tater dropped off donuts to the police department because Sergeant Glantz performed CPR on her father-in-law Saturday. She said the family was told countless of times that the only reason he is still alive is because Sergeant Glantz performed CPR so quickly. And this was the second time that day that Sergeant Glantz had performed CPR. 2 hours earlier, he and Officer Rizzo had to work on another fellow. So that was great feel-good stuff. Dear council members, after residing in Hudson, Ohio for 23 years, my wife and I moved to Macedonia 18 months ago. We were excited to move into the newly built home in a 55 years older community. I am saddened to say that we are dismayed and concerned over the direction of the city in which we have chosen to make our home. We love our community center, but now it seems the quality of the center is at risk due to the future funding shortfalls. Our roads are in poor shape compared to the neighboring communities, but some members of council are unwilling to acknowledge this fact or simply do not care. Many of our retail businesses need to be top graded, but there seems to be little interest or motivation to attract premier businesses. And now I read where some council members are more interested in cutting services versus finding ways to generate revenue to invest in our city. Taxes are a fact of life. Cities, just like businesses, must invest in order to grow and compete. Please work together to move this city forward rather than fall further behind our neighbors such as Brecksville, Hudson, and Twinsburg. We have elected you to lead. Please do your job and lead us into the direction we can all be proud of. This is from Rick Godick and Cheryl, who live in Macedonia. Dear Mayor Miglerini, as you know, a lot of the roads around town are in bad shape. As of today, we're going to have to do a lot of work ahead of us and try to get to the roads into better shape, not only for the residents, for the people who drive through our town, trying to do some shopping and just going out to dinner. I should have prefaced this in saying this is from our service department, our co-foreman. Both Jason McRitchie and Brian Schumann, both have co-authored this. Today, Brian and I met Jill Steinbeck of Longbrook. A very nice lady, very understanding about not only her stormwater problem, but the stormwater problems around the city. Her stormwater problem has been ongoing for 20 years. She has lived on Brook Point for almost 28.
That's true.
Now she and her neighbor have not only stormwater issues, but are now looking at road issues. The curb on Brook Point is original and is now starting to fail and become a problem. 1159 Brook Point has called and is in dire need of repair. We are going to do our best to fix it in the next couple of days, but at $100 a ton for coal patch, we're going to be using quite a bit to fix the roads in the state that they are in at this point. Jill is not the only resident, but I am using her name and her as an example that there are so many other residents in Macedonia that are in need of these types of services. The biggest problem that we are facing now is that the city has grown and we have more ditching, roadway repair, electrical, sign repair, and equipment repairs due to the age of the equipment that we use on a daily basis. We are struggling to get things done. The residents of this great community deserve the best services they can be offered. We're not able to give them to them. We need more personnel and better equipment to get services done. The residents deserve more than they are receiving, and we need to figure out a way to accomplish this together as a community. I've been also asked to read several crash reports or in regards to the road situation. And excuse me. This is from I hit a pothole on Shepherd Road heading south toward Route 82. I turned right off a ledge, and about halfway between the ledge and Route 82, the tire rim was damaged and needed repair. These are actually where they apply for reimbursement. Is that true? I was driving north on Macedonia and Commons Boulevard when I hit over a pothole in front of Home Depot. I immediately pulled over and realized I had a flat tire. Family member had to come and get me, and the tire was flattened all the way to the rim. I had to call State Farm and have the repairs made, and it's another police report. I am requesting reimbursement for the damages caused to my van due to the potholes on Laurel Drive, where I've lived since 2000. I noticed the city repaired one pothole located in the right corner of Laurel and Shepherd about 2 to 3 weeks ago, but did nothing to repair the multiple potholes that line Laurel Drive on the right side of the road and down the street. The potholes are many and deep. I work full-time and drive on Laurel Drive every day. I know that I damaged my ball joints and tie rods and the right-hand side of my van due to all these potholes. I am submitting the bill that I paid. I strongly recommend that the city compensate me for this bill, which I am submitting. Not only are the roads need to be repaired, but they are an eyesore, he caps that. and a financial drain on the residents who are property taxpayers. I had just gotten out of Get and Go gas and had pulled onto Highland Road. There was a pothole, and it gave me immediately a flat tire. I went to Walmart, had the tire repaired immediately. It was, and he's also asking for reimbursement.
Okay. The first comments for the police and fire, I have to commend both the police and fire for Jason Hendricks and Aaron and Rich and Phil and Paul. That was good police work by the fact that they broke that door down and got into that house and saved that lady's life. And you know, that's just to go to show you that we have a great department both in our police and our fire, and they're reacting to a situation. And what value do you put on a life? What's a life worth? What's a life worth? How much money do you need or do you want for a life? Think about that. How much money? I think it's pretty important to have good services. I refer back to a time when I first took office as mayor, and I was on city council before then. And as soon as I took office, I wanted to go to paramedics. And I was looked at like, are you kidding me? That's a liability. Bringing paramedics into this city? Oh my God, you can't do that. Well, I'll tell you what, when you pick up that phone, I'd like to have a doctor responding to my call, okay? Let alone, at that time, we only had EMTs. And Tim can remember that time. And we pushed along until we got paramedics in this city, until we got the best of equipment, until we trained our people the best. And when you pick up that phone, you're going to get somebody at your home within 3 to 4 minutes. You got a heart attack, you have a stroke, somebody's going to be there to take care of you. Those services don't come cheap, people. And what's a life worth again? We're going to bicker about 0.25%, and let's go study the study so we can figure out how we should put this on the ballot. June 17th, or in June of this 2017, the tax 0.25% drops off. Let's study it until November. We'll lose $500,000 to $600,000 in that period of time. Okay? $500,000 or $600,000 that we don't have. Again, thank you for all those good comments and the reading of that, Josephine.
Am I going to be able to speak yet?
Unfinished business, you will be.
Oh, I see.
Committee reports,
Okay.
or mayor's reports. I mean, you can go to mayor's reports and finish up with what I was going to say, and then you're going to have plenty of time to speak, because it's an unfinished item, Sylvia.
I've just thought you said it was just in a minute, that's all. That's
okay.
what I heard.
Okay. Again, I'm not going to belabor this, but I just want to say to everybody that should we not get this passed in May, in the May election, and the voters decide to reject it again, I just want to tell you what things that I put a list together that will be in jeopardy, okay? And I never like to put things out there like, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. But these things are truly going to be in jeopardy for our city. Our police and fire memorial that we were working on will be in jeopardy. The Veterans Memorial that we're working on at 82 and South Bedford at Memorial Park. Sugar Bush security system cameras we were working on. Gutter cleaning, dear to your heart there, Chuck. Fun Fest, the festival. Mulch program, where every year all of our residents come and get mulch outside here for free. Branch drop off and pickup be in jeopardy. Our school resource officer, which we have put in the high school and other places to help curtail drug activity and be a liaison between the kids and the school and the city. Snow plowing. We might have to revert back to the day when we never did our residential streets, and if you can remember, I was here long enough to tell you that we used to have to drive down a street like this, bumpity bump, because there was no salt given on those streets or plowing, so we never plowed them. Senior snow plowing. We'd have to give that up. Leaf pickup. Our MOP program that we offer to incentives, we won't be able to offer those incentives because we probably won't have any money to offer any. The FAIR program, which is, again, it's an educational process that we go into the schools and tell the kids how to, if there's a fire in their house and they smell smoke, what to do, and educating our kids. Santa delivery program. Holiday tree lighting. Our free rental program with tools. Cutting our tree lawn fund so that we can't plant trees on tree lawns anymore. By the way, none of our employees this year are getting an increase. We don't have any money. So unfortunately, we're going to maybe have more people that will probably want to leave the city. You train them, you get good people, and you can't keep them. They go elsewhere. They find a better pasture. We just had that happen in the we had in the building department. Building inspector left us. We've had others that have, we had finance people that have left us, zoning inspectors that have left us. All sorts of people have left this arena because they found jobs in other communities that offered them more money. And it does happen in this arena. But with the attitude that they see here on this council, they don't see a future to this community. They rather seek other places to go. I don't blame them. I'm ready to leave myself. It's not a joke, Dave.
I'm just sitting here, Mayor.
It's not a joke.
We've been listening to this all night. Can
I
we
don't
move
care.
on?
I'm speaking.
Go ahead. I'm just saying.
Yeah, just saying. Well, I'm just saying. And there's many other things that would likely have to be cut and put into jeopardy if we don't get something passed. This city is in an alarming situation, and I say it and I preach it, and I'm going to say this too, and this is not a threat, okay? But if I find information being passed out in this community that is not truthful, I am suing them personally. Personally, I am going to take a lawsuit and sue. And I will take it to whatever agency or bureau that will take it as well. Because I cannot stand for people lying to our residents about the facts, the true facts about our condition in this city. Our city does not have the money. And at the end of this year, it looks like we're only going to have around $500,000 or so in our carryover. That is an alarming amount of money. I said it at our last meeting. We got communities around us that are carrying over $9 million, $15 million, $20 million. And Macedonia is dragging its butt. We got to start to stand up for our community. It's your community. I live here, but it's your community. If you want our community to move forward and you want your property values to be appreciated, you need to support this and get this thing passed so we can get those streets done. I rest assure you the money is going to be put to good use, and it's going to be done quickly. I'm not going to drag my feet on it, and I'm going to make it happen. With that, I'm done with that, and we'll move on to committee reports.
I have two, real quick. One is the cemetery board. We had a meeting yesterday to talk about budget, talk about capital projects. If everyone's aware of the fact, we help fund that Northfield Macedonia Cemetery. If we have no money to put towards those funds, I'm not sure what happens to that cemetery. So right now, we haven't changed the budget request into the City of Macedonia. We will be having the annual meeting here at City Hall, I believe in May, to adopt it. But we are looking very strongly. It needs a road fixed. It needs a fence. It needs a roof in the garage. It needs a new oil fuel tank, the one that they have. You don't even want to hear how they use it. There's a lot that needs to be done at that cemetery, and it is very much a joint effort between all the communities. And I don't want to see that Macedonia has to say, sorry, we can no longer participate. With that being said, we have finance meetings set up. If you picked up the agenda, you'll see on the back is a list of all the finance meetings. Those finance meetings are to finish the 2017 permanent budget. There's been allusion made that we've never talked about it. We've talked about it. We just can't finalize it because of the contractual negotiations that were going on. But we now have to finalize it and pass it before the end of March so that it's adopted by law. One of the things we have to take a look at, and the mayor's absolutely accurate, we had $1.5 million at the end of 2016. Then our wonderful finance director dropped the bomb on us that it's more close to $400,000 at the end of this year, not $500,000. It's even worse. A lot of that is due to the projections of income, and the income that we did receive has gone down again. There are several businesses that we've talked about, trying to understand what's going on. And so we'll be talking, as we normally do, it will be the department heads presenting their budget, and we will be updating. Part of that always is the 5-year capital plan. I've heard it called the wish list, and that it never was a plan. I beg to differ. It has been the capital plan of every department head to show what they need this year for all the 5 years out. They have prioritized it of the needs that they have for their departments. The problem is, I think we have $100,000 this year. And you heard that one leaf pickup is $75,000. And as Chief Golden looks at me, I'm always reminded of the fact, police cruisers don't grow on trees. So we've got to talk about how we're able to fund all of those departments. So pick this up. You're more than welcome to come listen. It's always a public meeting. We're not doing any adoptable action until the end of March. Thank you.
Okay, any other committee reports? Okay, moving on then. Department reports. John?
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to finally announce leaf collection is over. Missed the mark a little bit. We finished on January 20th. We did pick up a total collection of 6,876 cubic yards this year. That is up 1,566 cubic yards from last year. To put it in equivalence, it's one of our boxes getting filled up 58 times is the difference from the pass we've made from this year to last year. Pothole patching, believe it or not, is going on in our city. We have put down roughly 11 tons so far as of today. We've been on North and South Valley View, Highland Road, Twinsburg Road, Shepherd, and Skyland and Ledge. It's come to a point where so many holes, especially on Valley View, that the holes pop open. We're doing what we call the wheel chuckers. You'll see some smaller ones that are in the road, but to conserve material and get as far out as we can around the city, that's what we're currently doing. So don't think we're just passing up holes to pass them. We're just trying to utilize the material that we have. Street trimming is currently going on. This is something that's been long overdue. 9 years ago was the last time Atterbury and Redbush area was performed. We're doing this following the guidelines of our ordinance, where the street coverage is 15-foot canopy and sidewalks are at 12-foot. We're doing this, well, one, our trucks cannot get close enough to the edge of the road to plow, and when they do, it hits our mirrors and breaks them at $450 a piece. Also, the garbage trucks driving down the road also end up hitting them, knocking limbs into the street. This isn't the only development. There are others that we have to do, but we're just trying to make some way, and that's our parks personnel are the ones performing this job right now. They're pulled out of the parks and doing the street tree trimming. Our street lighting, thanks to our PD doing some reconnaissance around town, 58 lights are currently out on a partial list that they've created. So the 43 that we have currently fixed really don't matter. At a regular cost, to fix the lights, if they were just a bulb and photocell replacement like we've been doing, would be $11,600. And we also have currently at count right now 10 street lights that have been knocked down through the years that have never been replaced. That estimated cost to replace them, just to buy them, is over $14,000. Stormwater infrastructure, we are going around the city actually inspecting our catch basins. We started in the Park Ledge area. That area alone right now, 28 catch basins are at count of failing. And that is just in the Park Ledge development alone. That's one of 11 residential developments, not including Commons Boulevard or our industrials. And also our vehicle maintenance. Our mechanics are working hard, as usual. 7 trucks are currently down right now. 4 of them are completely out of commission due to electronic and mechanical failures, but they are diagnosing, and hopefully we'll have them back on the road as soon as possible. And that's all I have from our report.
Thank you, John. Help beat John tonight, thanks. Joe.
Thanks, Mayor. Hopefully a little bit of good news here. I'd like to give you guys a quick update on a couple of projects. First being Sioux Lane Culvert. As you know, we've been working with Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District to help us fund this culvert replacement. Initial estimates were that the city was going to have to spend approximately $80,000 of our own money to complete this culvert replacement. Yes. In our recent discussions with the sewer district, we feel that that number is going to be a lot lower, perhaps in the neighborhood of $42,000, and maybe even hopefully a little bit lower than that. So we hope to enter into an agreement with the sewer district soon and proceed with that project. But that is a little bit of good news. And the money that the sewer district will be contributing to the project is their own money. It is not money that is in Macedonia's community cost share account. So we're grateful to the sewer district for that. And the other project is 883 Iroquois, which has been out there for quite a while. We know we have an agreement in place currently with the sewer district for $59,000. That is to demolish the house and to create the stormwater retention feature. We've been discussing with Summit County Land Bank, and they have committed to performing the demolition of the house for us free of charge to the city. So we will have an agreement with Summit County Land Bank, and the work that they're going to do for free for us will reduce the amount of money that we need to draw out of our community cost share account. So,
Do you know how much?
I don't know exactly how much, but I'm hoping to save $10,000 or $15,000 perhaps by having Summit County do it for free.
Right. So that reduces what we have to use of our community share.
That's correct, yes. And that's all I got, Mayor. Thanks.
You might want to add the fact that we talked with them when we were talking to them with regards to the Ledge Road study and what they were doing with that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we spoke with Rachel Webb, our sewer district liaison, and she is working on a update for us. And Ms. Loya is not here today, I don't think.
No, she just walked in. Yeah, she walked in. We've been going long enough. She came in.
I stand corrected. She is here, not in her usual seat. So Rachel's working on an update for us, I guess a written update that we can provide to not just to Ms. Loya, but to all of our residents and council as well, to let us know exactly where we stand, that the sewer district is indeed moving forward with that project. So,
thank you, Joe.
Angela.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 items to touch base on. Neither were planned ahead of time, but based on previous conversation tonight, I thought I would throw in my 2 cents on a few things that were mentioned. One, not to really give a lot of extra time and attention to some of the insinuations made during public comments, but I can say with 100% truthfulness that there were estimates for any of the plans going out for the levy that did fail in November. We had prices per square footage for every inch of every item that was proposed at that time. I do know those who did see it, those who missed it, did send emails requesting it, and it was emailed again, so I do know that was distributed. There were drawings by architects that we consulted with, so there was no misleading information to anyone during that time of the campaigning for the last election in November. So I just wanted to make that statement and make those clarifications. The next thing I wanted to touch base on was I wanted to thank the majority of council for passing the income tax to go on the ballot in May. I listened in finance meetings on Tuesday. I've listened to conversations tonight with alternate plans, and the plan to work within the city's means when it drops down to 1.75. The rec center was never part of that 1.75. So any of the priorities that were listed, that all these departments can work within that 1.75 moving forward, we were never part of that. So not once was the rec center mentioned in that plan, not once. So I don't know what kind of future that would have for us if we were to go with that plan and drop down to 1.75, but I know we weren't included and we weren't mentioned once this whole week when we were discussing that plan. So I thank the majority of council for going with the plan that they did. I'm hoping that the voters are educated and ask a lot of questions and try and learn about this before they vote yes or no down the road. And I think that at least with this plan, it gives the rec center a brighter future, and it gives us a chance to continue operating. So thank you.
Okay. Rhonda.
Ready? So for this month in January for Rita, I'll give you my Rita update. This month we received $783,043, which is compared to last year of $754,116. Excuse me. So we are up $28,927, which is good. But keep in mind that in 15 we received $871,000. So it's a far cry from 2015's numbers, and even 14's numbers, which probably was still a carryover from when we were at 2.25%. 2016, we were down in the net profit area by $488,000. 4 companies made up $330,000 of that, or basically 68%, because they did not make estimated payments in 2016. One of the companies was because they have such a large loss carry forward that they don't need to. So if 4 companies could make up that amount of money, I mean, if one of them goes under, 2 of them go under, or more start doing poorly, I mean, our income taxes, we generate, I think, about almost $2 million from net profits, somewhere around there, or 1.1 something like that.
1.1 something, yeah.
So then I was looking at the budget after Tuesday, and I did misspeak earlier when, Nick, you asked if anybody had contacted me. Ms. Hannikin did say on Tuesday's meeting that she'd be willing to, meet with me to discuss, so I apologize for that. So going through the budget, which is still a moving target because we haven't finalized, and, it's even changed since Tuesday, unfortunately. But in looking at the budget that we had created and taking out the revenue that we're going to be getting for the Sagamore and Northfield Center fire contracts, our budget increased right now 6.5%. By taking the numbers back to 2016 and budgeting basically what we spent in 2016, we would be at an increase at 1.41%. Okay? That gives us $573,000 more That's it. So by spending a little bit less, we're not gaining that much more to work on our roads and everything else that needs to be fixed. I do have a capital budget that, we've been working on and trying to prioritize from 2017 through 2021 and thereafter. 2017, right now, we're at $2.5 million. Now, yes, the previous time we did this, there was things on there that were considered a need, but they haven't been worked on in so many years, and it's like a development type project. So I took those off, and these are actual capital improvements. Dump trucks for the service department, locker room replacements for the rec center. City Hall's going to need a new roof. Things like this that we've prioritized from 2017 to 2021 and again thereafter. I have tried to finance as much as I can so that we minimize the outgoing expenses every single year. 2017, I'm at $2.5 million in capital improvements that we would like to try to purchase and fix. So it's not pretty. So 2.25% would certainly help towards this.
How much money is in the capital improvement fund?
We currently have unencumbered balance is $141,139.
So we have 2.5 in needs, $141,000 in savings.
So that's my report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tim?
Yes, Mayor, with snow in the forecast, you could do us a favor by cleaning out around your fire hydrant. If it does get that deep, don't let your snow plower plow in your fire hydrant. And then also keep your house numbers visible from the street. A lot of houses have them near the ground, and if it snows, it's very hard for us to find our house. So make sure that you keep those open for us to be able to see. That's all I have.
Thank you. I want to also thank the majority of council for allowing this to go on the ballot. We desperately need this, and I'll let my comments at the end of the finance meeting stand. I think it's time that I mention Nixle again. We had a couple Nixle alerts go out the other day, and I haven't mentioned anything recently. Nixle is something our dispatchers send out to all the residents via their cell phone, or if you don't have a smartphone, you can get it at home in an email. You can go to you can text 888-777, and in the message section, just put our zip code, and you'll be signed up for the Nixle alerts. If you don't have a smartphone, you can go to nixle.com and follow the procedure there. And some of the older folks don't necessarily have smartphones that they can get them on their phone, but you can get an email. It's just a box that the dispatchers click. So, but that is something that the dispatchers do after the emergency is over, when they have time after police, fire, and or service have been dispatched. It's not automatic that it happens. And every now and then we'll get a call and say, well, it happened 5 minutes ago. Where was the Nixle alert? Kind of busy. We'll get to it. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you. Mark, anything?
No report, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Any unfinished business?
This is my time to speak then, I guess. Let me just start with looking at the real world we're talking about here. I don't think anybody is in disagreement that road repair is an essential thing that we have to do. And I want you to understand something. We've been spending a lot from that 1.75% to work on, buy trucks, work on roads all the way through this period. In fact, at some points we spent over $1 million a year on that. In 1 year, in 2015, we really spent more than that because we ended up with having all of these ODOT projects come together at the same time we were working on these Macedonia residential streets. So we spent pretty extensively on road repair in that year, in 2015. But let me, when we go through this process, and I very much would like to have discussions with department heads, But I think if I release some of the comments that I've received when I've tried to do that from the mayor and from others, I think that you would understand that while the majority of council may be able to speak easily with department heads, that is not accorded to those who don't agree. Let me put it that way. And I did speak, I have sent questions, for example, to the fire chief concerning the meaning of certain things, and I've got no response. I did have spoken to Mrs. Hall a few times on some issues, and she's responded. And I did offer the other night to go through the entire picture with her so that we all know we're on the same page. Let me just say this. Everyone believes that we should be repairing roads in Macedonia. The question is not that. Everybody believes that we ought to be working on our stormwater issues, which we didn't do for quite a long time. I agree, it wasn't a high priority. And now we have this NEORSD funding, which is basically being paid for by you because we are one of the 5 communities in Summit County which have been basically had a property tax type of tax. It's called a fee applied to our environment. And they have regional money, which they took from us, and they have community share money, which they took from us. And they appear to me to be sincerely trying to work with us on some of our big ticket issues like the Sioux Lane culvert, which we ended up, where it sounds like we're going to do well in dealing with them, and they're using regional money primarily. So it's adding money into the picture, at least $320,000 into the picture in our capital budget we didn't have because we're paying for it. We are paying for it. And what the issue is not that we're going to stop the senior program or going to do all of that because, in fact, that's all been coming out of the 1.75%, which is not going away. What is going away as of July 1, 2017, is the 0.25% that was added 20 years ago when we were to build the rec center and to start up the operations. And it has paid for both things. And this is now ceasing, and what you heard tonight is that the minority here offered to extend and continue to tax at 2%, which is not an increase, but it could decrease if we didn't do that, right? So what do we want to spend the money on? We want to prioritize on our capital needs, which is what I think everybody believes we need to do. I believe we ought to prioritize, we should have prioritized this year to put more money into capital instead of, proposing to increase it by, as Rhonda said, 13.5% or something. Instead, we isolated that money into operations, and then we didn't spend it all, and that's fine. Now, let me talk about something with regard to the misunderstanding perhaps here. I'm not sure. I never said that we should only spend, during the finance meeting, we should only spend what we spent last year. I said we start with that as a baseline, and then we increment or we decrement depending on what changes we need to make. And why is that a good idea? Because that's what everybody does who plans budgets. At least that's certainly true in the Department of Defense, and I talked to some businesses today, and they do that the same way. What do we have to do? What are we going to do? Where are we going to end up? So it's not that there's any terrible motive that we hate Macedonia and we want it to go into a funk or anything. What we want to do is walk through and get logical things in place and prioritize properly for the things we need, which include roads, and we need equipment, and we have been paying for equipment over the years. We bought ambulances, we bought trucks, we bought all kinds of things in the last few years, and we bought a whole new fleet of police cars. We need to continue to do that, and that's why we have to have 2% at least in order to do that. So there is no disagreement about what we ought to do. What the question is how much money do we need to do it? And that's why it's very important that a complete and honest picture of that, starting with the proper baseline, is done. And that we have free flow of information from department heads, which unfortunately, for the most part, in the case of the minority, doesn't happen. As far as the other issues that have been raised tonight, as to whether or not we think, that we're not caring about this city. Now, I've been living here since 1980, and I don't know how long Mr. Engel's been living here, but probably a reasonably long time since he's been on council for a while. I've been on council for 2 years, in essence, actually almost close to 4 now, I take that back, close to 3.5, 3. And during the time that I've been on council, I've always asked the same question. Are we getting what we need for our money? And are we prioritizing it properly? There's nothing wrong with asking those questions. Those are very important questions because every resident of the city really deserves that to happen. And we don't have less money than we did in 2008. Let's just get that clear. That is not true. We have less state money, I agree with that, but we don't have less money because our income tax has, after the recession, gone up from a median of $7 million a year to somewhere around 8.2 to 8.3 million a year. Now, what does that mean? We have a lot more money from our income tax. Now, that doesn't, we lost some money from the state because the local government fund got cut by 50%. And there's numbers out there that would indicate to me we've lost about half of that, what we used to collect, which was around 500. So we've lost between 250 and 300,000. We have lots of things that have increased. For example, NERSD has decided to collect money from us, and we are giving that money to them in order to help us with stormwater. So we have a new amount of revenue coming through here.
That's not revenue.
Well,
That's not revenue.
It's revenue in the sense it's available for us to work on projects. That's what I'm talking about.
Stormwater.
Yes, that's correct, and that's a big issue.
If they
As you
approve-
well know, it's a very big issue in this city because this city has a lot of wetlands and a lot of downhill slope. And why people who live like Mrs. Loya and her husband live at Ledge Road and North Bedford is they're on the low side of all of Macedonia. That's the real world. So we had money that we had set aside in the capital budget to look at that. For example, we had put in, we needed $400,000 for the Sulene culvert. Well, we don't need to spend our money on that now. That's a plus. That's a good thing, but it's not free. We had to pay for that through this fee. So I'm telling you, there are money that are additive, both in income tax and in this NERSD fee, that are being used for our needs, which are reflected in the capital plan. Now, as far as that capital plan, I'm just going to say this. I think we had things in there that included things like putting $100,000 into lights for the baseball fields at Longwood Park. Now, I do not think that the baseball lights in Longwood Park do need to take priority over many things. Certainly not roads, certainly not other things. And so that's why when I approach the budget and when I try to look at what we have to do, I want to talk through that issue with everyone and everybody to get on the same page. Instead, what we've been having happen is we have meetings where the agreements are made ahead of time, and they are made ahead of time,
Excuse
just
me.
like this last one.
Take offense at that.
I saw what you were doing. I saw you talking up with the mayor and Rhonda before that meeting. I know what you're doing.
I caution you to say that if you.
Well,
really
it is
don't
true.
know
I
it's true.
observed it, sir, so
You
I
heard
can't
what
be.
they were saying at the time?
whatever the story, it's in the mayor's office. Maybe he wasn't there right before the council
I heard he
meeting.
was talking about having a
At any
popcorn
rate,
party with his
let me
children
finish what
tomorrow.
I'm saying. Everybody's attacked and attacked. I'm going to come back and rebut what's being said. So, the reality is, we haven't had a real council discussion. What we've had is people come in and say, this is what we want. Why don't you compromise by agreeing with us? Okay? That's the compromise that they're offering. What we tried to offer was tonight, well, let's go ahead and keep the tax rate at 2% so that we don't have a decrease over what we have right now, and let's redirect the funds toward the capital needs of this city. That did not even get a discussion at this point. We seem to think that we have to do these things by getting them on the ballot as if that's the answer to everything. What we need to do is understand what we're doing, agree on an approach, and I'm not saying that I have all the answers. I'm saying I'd be willing to go with a complete laydown of the budget that we could all agree to, but we just can't seem to get there from here. And the reason we can't is we always want to go for, we need more money, we need more money. Well, obviously, we need some money because we can't repair our roads and take care of other things unless we do. The question is, how much? And I'm not ready to simply declare this is what we need because our families need it too. So let's just sit down and talk about it and try to work it through. That's what my recommendation is. It's not because they're bad people or I'm a bad person. It's because we need to follow a method that makes sense. And so that's all I've got to say. And everybody can go along and jump all over again, but that's it.
Here's our 5-year plan. It will be on our website tomorrow. Please look at it as to what is on there and what fluff is not on there, okay? And you'll see that there's 2.27 or $2.5 million in capital improvement needed this year.
Right.
And over the 5-year period, there's $41 million.
Can I say something here?
No.
The lights for the ball fields and the digital sign at the rec center and Longwood Park, those can only be spent from park money.
Right.
That does not come out of the general
Do we
fund.
have $100,000 per year in parks money for that, Ron?
It's coming from the lights, well,
For
right now we don't.
2017?
Right now, we don't have it for 17.
That's right, we don't. So where that's coming from, and we have paid for things
Where's it
in the
coming
park.
from? Are we spending it?
No, well, we are spending, no, I'm not suggesting that you're spending it. I'm saying it's in the plan that way for 2017. So it's not part of the reality of what we're
The
talking.
lights were being paid for out of the budget. We have not passed the budget.
No.
Second of all, the mayor, the last time we did anything with the ball fields was taken from the money from the golf course across the street, did not touch any of the general fund money. State the facts, not your opinion.
Well,
We've
no,
also extended
ma'am,
the
I
date.
didn't say anything about those
You just
particular.
said we're paying for the lights at the ball field.
I said it's in the budget for 100,000. It was with the last time I saw it. Now it sounds like there's been an update.
We passed
updated
the
the
capital
capital
budget.
Are you talking about the capital, are you talking about the 5-year plan?
Yes.
The 5-year plan is not in the budget.
Uh,
Why don't
well-
you speak what you speak?
Well, the 5-year
correctly?
plan is your justification for why we need all this money.
No, listen.
That's what you've just said over and
5-year plan, folks, is a
wish list.
merely a plan. It's something that is on our radar screen so we know how to spend our money, okay? Without this, we wouldn't have a baseline.
It's not a baseline if you're putting 100,000 in lights.
The proposal, 100% of the money through the increase is earmarked. So none of it would go towards any of those items. It's going towards roads and the operation of the rec center.
Well, it's going towards roads, stormwater, and operations of the rec center
Exactly,
and
exactly what I
other.
said. Thank you.
I am telling you, this variant version does not really deal with some of the other issues we need, like equipment.
Look on our website tomorrow, you'll see this 5-year plan on
The
there.
5-year plan that we have is the same as that, Mrs. Hall, or not?
I'm sorry?
Is that five-year plan the same that you handed out?
No.
It's a different five-year
No.
plan that none of us have
Excuse me.
seen.
It's been updated from 2007
It's
to
the
2017.
revised plan that was going to be presented by each
Yeah, okay.
department head at our, I don't even have it, Ms. Hannigan, even though we pre-speak everything.
Well, that's
I
my
don't have
point.
it,
I have it.
Right, you have
It
it.
emanated out of the
Which
mayor's
is where it
office.
comes from. It comes from the administration.
I have no
not from
problem
city
with it coming
council.
from the mayor's office, but if we're going to say we need that money this year, we need to have a plan to review. That's my point.
That's what the okay, you must have slept through my comments about the finance
I just,
committee meeting.
one last comment.
And everybody can clap, but it still comes back to the same thing.
I just
We
want-
have to tell the truth about what we're doing, and folks here have not been able to do that. Thank you.
What haven't we been telling the truth about?
Okay.
At any rate,
Let me
I
just,
think it's
let me
time
just
to
say
adjourn.
something about NERSD, and then I'm going to give it to the next unfinished business. But
Right.
NERSD is monies that are collected, and we get a portion, what, 25% is it, Joe?
25%.
25% of what's collected.
Right.
And those monies can only be spent when we present them with a project for stormwater-related issues.
Right.
And when we present it to them, they can say yay or nay on the project
Right.
and give us the money for that project.
But there's one also caveat. We also have to have the money available to pay for it, and they
Right.
basically are reimbursing us.
That's correct.
true. That's
And the
true.
other
Okay.
covenant, it's not
That's
the
a
road
big part of it.
And you can't borrow against this money, you can't
Right,
levy against
right.
this money, and it may be sitting there, but when you start to think about Our Lady of Guadalupe retention basin, which affects everybody downstream, $400,000. Sioux Culvert was $400,000. The Kathy Loya, I'm gonna call it Kathy Loya problem,
Yeah. Well,
down
it's
there
everybody
is gonna
downstream.
cost hundreds, probably over $1 million,
Right.
okay?
I agree.
Where's this money gonna come from?
From NERSD, since
That
they're
will
taking
take
about.
over 5 years at $250,000.
Well, I don't know what it's going to take, but there's the ones with the money, and they have just offered to spend a lot of money on our Saline culvert problem that we thought we had to spend.
Yeah, they did because of my influence.
Well, I don't, it was wonderful. I'm glad you have influence,
glad.
but they did anyway. That's what I'm saying. The money is there, and if they're taking the lead and doing it in good faith,
Can I make one other correction? A statement was made that in 2015, we had $1 million to do roads, and we did roads. We didn't have $1 million. We found that what had been told to us by the finance chair at that time and the finance department, that $1 million was counting our $500,000 of the emergency refund and a $500,000 of our pension fund, which by law we cannot touch.
that $500,000 you can touch. It's a reserve fund. The money you can't
I
touch.
said for the pension fund you could not touch, plus we did not know we were touching the emergency reserve.
No,
fund.
we did not touch any emergency reserve, number one. And number two, we have two reserve funds. One is just a plain reserve emergency fund, and the other is that $500,000 fund that's called, the pension fund. But in fact, it is not the same as the police pension
Am I allowed
fund.
to touch the pension fund?
And you
No,
can touch
thank
that
you.
money. You
Thank
can. It's a reserve
Our lawyer
fund.
just told you.
That
no.
is untrue. I know from looking at it.
Well,
It's untrue.
I know the department.
So just to clarify, that's untrue, and you also made an accusation that the majority of council violated the Open Meetings Act too, is what you said earlier as well?
I didn't hear what you said.
The majority of council violated the Open Meetings Act, and you have proof
Oh,
of that?
let me put it this way. We don't have a unified council because they are all,
That's not what you said. You said that
all
they
right.
violated
You
the
know
Open
what,
Meetings
Mark?
Act.
I think we need to move on.
Oh.
If they violated the open meeting, if they didn't do it, they did it, if they didn't violate open meetings, and didn't say they did.
You said they did.
No, I did not, sir. I said I saw Mr. Bilkey and Mrs. Hall up in the mayor's office. That does not violate the Open Meetings Act, does it?
Okay, well, I'm glad that's clear, because that's.
But did they talk with other council people? How are we going to prove that?
Can I have a chance to speak?
But all I know is
First-
we have a
first and
unified
foremost, all right.
perspective. Okay.
I'd like to thank Mr. Bilkey because I was a part of that meeting, and I will be bringing my children to your house to watch the movie tomorrow and have popcorn. since we talked about city business.
Okay.
Secondly, I want to remind everyone that outside we have an e-commerce safety zone. It's a place where if you do things online or in Facebook or whatever you may do, it's a place where you can try to feel safe. You can try and feel safe when you make a transaction with somebody. Not guaranteeing everything that, you know, you're never going to have an issue, but I would think it's a lot less likely for you to have a problem when someone's standing in front of our police department for you to make your transaction. So I would encourage people to use that. I use it, you know, buying and selling a car, or my wife may do something on one of her sites, and we make the exchange there. So it's a good, safe place for you to make that transaction. I would encourage that.
Okay.
Second thing, I reached out to the schools about a year ago to talk about local government, because I remember when I went to Nordonia, we had some things go on there where I learned a little bit about local government, but everyone looks at the big level, the federal level, and that's the exciting stuff. You know who your president is. So by virtue of that, as a team, the mayor, I reached out to our mayor, the mayor of Northfield, one of the trustees from Sagamore, and who am I missing?
Trustee.
Another trustee. So I tried to pluck one from each community for us to talk to the kids, and it was actually a really good way for us to talk about what we do. A lot of them, you know, it's not the most exciting stuff. I mean, the one thing that was brought up that really got the kids excited were some things that the mayor's working on, and I don't know where it stands today, but a potential IHOP. There was a potential in and out from the high school to Route 8, which, oh my God, they were as excited as could be about that. But, you know, a lot of the stuff was just minutia, but it was still nice to get that out to them and talk to them and work as a team, as communities, to say, you know, we want you more involved. And that was my intention all along, is to say, you know, we need younger people to get involved in this game. It's not just, you know, retired people or people, you know, approaching 40 or whatever you want to call it. So it was a nice thing for us to do, and I wanted to appreciate and say thank you to them. I'll apologize to Mr. Bilkey. A few things came from that meeting, and I've already talked to Angela, and I know you're the chair of the committee, but a few things that I've presented to Angela and we're working on is potentially a reduced rate for high school students. The one student said to me, you know, I just go there, I'm on the track team, why should I pay the full rate? I kind of tend to agree with that, and we're working on something to maybe say, you know, maybe we equal that to what a senior citizen pays at different hours. So it's something nice to give back to them. Obviously, a kid in Nordonia High School should be able to go there, I feel, at a reduced rate. It encourages that, and we want to encourage healthy and good living. So that's one thing. A second thing is the one student said in front of us, and it was kind of funny. He goes, well, there's nothing to do in this town. He goes, what do I do for fun? I said, well, you know, if you want me to choose that for you, it's probably not going to be very much fun, because what you consider to be a good time and I do are probably two different things. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the student council work with Angela and potentially others to maybe do some things from the city perspective to give them things to do from the rec center and encourage that rec center and the good stuff that can go on in our community. So that's some of the nice things that came from that. And thank you, Angela, for helping with that. And I apologize, Kevin, again. I know you're the chair of the committee, but
You're forgiven.
we're just talking about these things. While I'm on another topic, I was given something from a resident in our community, and I don't know if he wants credit yet, but if he tells me I got to state his name, I'll definitely do it. It's not about me. It's about the team, the community, and all of us. He gave me this, and it's what it is a financial health indicator by Dave Yost, the Ohio auditor. And what this tells us is where we stand in terms of the community of Macedonia. Now, we're going to post this up on our website tomorrow. We can argue with our finance director. We can argue with Sylvia, and she can say that we're all full of it and, you know, this is all nonsense. But when the auditor of state tells you it, I hope you guys believe us. There's a lot of things in here that say you're not as good as you think you are, and there's some problems. That little red dot right there, that's a problem. And I encourage you all to read that. I'm not going to go through all this, but I'd rather you interpret it for yourself. Secondly, I'll give credit to Melissa, who spoke tonight on one of her websites. Someone posted this up from cleveland.com. Report backs claims cities and counties were hurt by state cuts, officials say. When this mayor just talked about the money we lost and how our governor has solved the state's problems but passed the buck all down to us is why we are where we are today, and that's why we're proposing what we're proposing. Great article. I encourage you to read that. I'll ask the mayor and our IT director if he can post a link for that sheet for you to read that as well. The lights at the park one thing that I had encouraged in the past is working in business for a long time, you always work to your strengths. One of our strengths in this community, is that funny? One of our strengths in this community are those ball fields. If you go to a Parks and Rec meeting when I was on there, those ball fields are booked from April to August, September, October.
Into the fall now, yeah.
Every day, all day. If you put lights up, and we figured it out, we would pay for those lights in what, it was a year or two? And then you would generate more funds. Isn't that what this is about? Is that such a bad thing to say, hey, a little bit of a hit now will generate more revenue later, and this makes sense? But yet we get attacked by someone who doesn't understand because, you know, I have kids that play sports. I still play sports when my body allows me, and that's a good thing. We want to do that. It generates revenue. It's not a bad thing. Finally, you know, it was stated that we're attacking. I'm not going to sit here and say I, me. That is so wrong. It's not about what I think. It's about what we think as a community and what we need to do moving forward. All I heard was, you know, you're attacking me, I'm playing the victim. But at one point, did you hear a solution? At what point was there a solution to this problem? I heard nothing. All I heard was you spend too much, you have all this money, there's a fountain of gold. We don't have it, folks. And I'm not sitting up here to argue with you. I give facts. I'm not gonna talk about subject to interpretation or anything of the sort. Facts. You can't deny facts. And now our auditor of state's telling us, you guys got a problem. So please, please, please believe the majority, not the minority who is angry, but the people that are telling you the truth and giving you facts, not my opinion. Thank you.
There was one last thing that he didn't mention about the high school kids. It was the government class. There must have been 90 kids in 6 periods that we spoke with. Interestingly is that the first question that came out of their lips, when are you going to fix our roads? I couldn't believe it. I said, you want to come to a council meeting and mention that? Any other?
Well, it's not really unfinished, but it's new business. And I would just ask, and I hate to put the chief, Black, yes, not you, on the spot, but we lost a very important member of our community and our fire department. And I first of all want to say thank you to the fire department and the volunteers for attending the memorial service this week. You know, there are people here that make an impact that we never really talk about because they don't really want to be talked about. They just do it. And Paula was one who had a smile and a laugh, and those of you who are here, I believe she was here in December, came to say thank you to folks who she used to work for because how much they cared. So Chief, I really would like to end with maybe if you could say some nice words about Paula Fowler. You know, we talk about EMTs, we talk about paramedics. If you talk about Paula Fowles.
Paula Fowles started in 1978. She was a registered nurse and wanted to give back to her community. She started in '78. She was the first, one of the first 2 female firefighters in Summit County. We don't know outside of that, but certainly in Summit County. That tells you how tough she was, okay? You know, Paula, as she went through her career, always fit in whatever was needed. It was, it didn't matter what it was, she was always there and found a purpose, which is very important in the fire department. Sometimes as you go through your career, your jobs change. She went into education. She performed education in our school. She was very good at that. That's what she did at her full-time job. And everybody remembers her Pancake Day taking the money because nobody was going to get it past Paula during Pancake Day. So she was with us for a long time. She put over 35 years in the department. And she'll be greatly missed. You know, Paula was, while with us, she was very boisterous. She did do her job quietly, and she was just the type of person that you didn't have to pin anything on her jacket. She knew what she did, and she knew the good that she did every day with the department, and that was good enough for her. So she'll be greatly missed.
Thank you.
Sure.
My name is Vinnie Ventura, and I would like to add about Paula. It's something that wasn't brought up in the newspaper. One of my specialties in law enforcement is critical incident stress management, peer support. I've been doing that for 21 years. I met Paula at a training seminar doing that. Crisis management, peer support is helping your fellow officers, your fellow firefighters, when they've been taken beyond their normal capabilities to cope. We are trained, we are cross-trained, and we work together in the emergency services discipline. And I've known her probably since I got into that. She was on the Summit County team. And that's how I met her. We all were at the same training. And just like the chief said, just like the newspaper said, she worked for others. She didn't work for herself. She worked for others and helping people get through some of the hardest times that you can possibly get through. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried.